She should have died hereafter. There would have been time for such a word as tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow. Creeps in this petty pace from day to day, to the last syllable of recorded time. And all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out, out, brief candle. Life has been a walking shadow. A poor player who struts and frets his hour upon the stage and is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and full of sound and fury, signifying signifying nothing. Hello. Do you know what Macbeth is about? I'll tell you. It's about the numbing of the moral sense. Now, you might have read that in the little title card before this began. That is from the movie Exorcist III, starring George C. Scott. Now, he makes this statement in front of a group of detectives because he feels that they are, well, they're just not putting in the right amount of effort to solving the murder of a boy found on the docks. And he makes a point about the play. It's about numbing of the moral sense, and he's right. The character Macbeth in Shakespeare's play starts off as a valiant, honorable knight. And then after the introduction of chaos into his life in the form of the three witches, he finds it easy to kill. First the king, then the man who we assume is his best friend, and the list goes on. Until quite possibly there is nothing of the honorable man left. Now, that's Shakespeare. He is an excellent storyteller, but a lousy historian, and you've heard me complain about that with Richard I with Richard III and Richard II. Sorry. You see, his source for many of his plays based on history, whether it be the history cycle or the tragedies, was usually a man named Hollingshead. And Hollingshead didn't get it right a lot of the time. In the case of Richard III, he was basically repeating propaganda. Who knows his reasons for Macbeth? Now, Shakespeare had his reasons for deliberately making Macbeth look bad in that play. It's called making the boss happy. In this case, King James I of England, also known as King James VI of Scotland, who was descended from a man named Malcolm, or more importantly, Malcolm III. Now, before I go any further about Shakespeare and what he did with Macbeth, I'm going to give you a few bits of information about the real Macbeth. Now, he was a Scottish lord and king. He was born in 1005 and he died in 1057. So he would have been a contemporary of William the Conqueror. So that is just a few things. Now his name in Gaelic I cannot even begin to pronounce. I may be descended from Irish and Scottish, but Gaelic was not imprinted upon my soul. So the English translation of his names was Macbeth Macfinlay. That's his name. Now, he was a noble or a lord or warlord in Scotland. And at one point, Duncan, the king, invaded his territory. Now, as for why, I don't know. But in the end, the battle between Macbeth and Duncan ended with Duncan's death and Macbeth's rise to the throne, where he sat there for the next 17 years. Not always uncontested, but he had a pretty good run until Duncan's son Malcolm attacked, invaded, and Macbeth was no more and became a figure of history. And then later on, a history of ridicule when Shakespeare wrote his play. And of course, well, that's how he's remembered. He's remembered for what Shakespeare said about him. And the character, again, starts off as a noble warrior. And the three witches come along. A copy of Macbeth I bought, I think, sometime in the late 1980s, early 90s, talked about the witches being agents of chaos, that they were something to break down the natural order. Their very presence was to promote chaos. And that's what happens. The belief of the medieval world was that you didn't rise above your station. If you tried to rise above your station, you created chaos. And what happens? Macbeth, in murdering Duncan, creates that chaos. The natural order is destroyed. His land, his Scotland, becomes a mess until it is restored to order by the entry of Macduff alongside Malcolm and all of those who fled the tyrannical rule of Macbeth. Now, I don't mind saying the name. Of course, in theater circles, it's a cursed name. You don't say it. You say the Scottish tragedy. You know, I've never actually believed that. No, I've never actually believed that. It's just silly, super... Anyway, it's a very well done play. Okay, I praised it, bashed the writer, told you a bit of history. So, that ends this one. Can you believe it? I've actually run this one short. If you like this, I encourage you, as I always do, don't rely on me. Go looking for the facts about this man. Go looking for information about the real Macbeth. Go looking for information about Shakespeare's Macbeth. There's a lot of very interesting reading. I also recommend you go looking for Ian McKellen's performance. It is beautiful to behold. If you're watching this on my channel, I ask you to go ahead and hit the like button. And I also ask that you go ahead and subscribe, hit the bell notification so you'll be alerted when something new comes. I have at least 2 more in my head right now that I'll be working on soon. And of course, as soon as I get those 2 done, I'll go, you know, we could do something about yeah. Anyway, you get the idea. Also, if you're watching this on the Renaissance Fair's YouTube channel, do the same. Hit the like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. There's a lot more coming there as well. You should remember that this year we, of course, will not be holding the Alabama Renaissance Fair. So, well, that's the way things are right now. But we will be holding virtual events. So, definitely hit the bell notification so you can see when those are coming. Anyway, I thank you for watching tonight. Stay home, stay safe, and keep learning.